the Minister, Honourable Minister, to Nomsa, Group CEO of SABC, and to the media. Thank you for joining us today. The Minister has, over the last few weeks, he's given us as SuperSport and MultiChoice some feedback around the fact that we need to be more deliberate about how we tell our story and how we own the space in terms of our investment in sport over the years. So I just want to give some context in terms of us as a business and the journey that we've gone on. So as an opening, I think South Africa has a long and glittering history when it comes to sport. And I think as SuperSport, we've got the privilege of being able to craft and curate some of these stories in terms of the everyday life sports story. And we pride ourselves as being one of the biggest broadcasters globally in terms of how we basically bring the sporting content to Africa and to South Africa as well. Just in terms of our sporting content, I mean, we broadcast on excess of 15,000 live sports events yearly. Again, I think globally that in itself is a massive statement just in terms of us as SuperSport, in terms of what we do. And again, we pride ourselves in terms of the commitment that we've made to South Africa and Africa alike. And our commitment is to make sure that we will continue to make sure that we drive that story. And I think one of the mantras that we have at MultiChoice and SuperSport is sport is what we do, it's who we are, and it's what we live. And I think as we zone into now the context of why we're here, I think 2024 marks 30 years of democracy of South Africa. And we're here to celebrate that milestone and the contribution that rugby generates or contributes in terms of unifying us as a nation. The Springboks have played a critical role in uniting the country and lifting morale in and around the country. I think we've seen in the last World Cup, we've just seen how we come together as a country. And I think just scenes in terms of what we've seen on broadcast, that in itself is quite amazing, right? And I think rugby also makes us to believe in the impossible. I mean, if you think about US Van der Wees days and when he tackled John Olomo, and we are having some of those discussions now, just in terms of how South Africa versus New Zealand is one of the greatest rivalries in rugby. And I think that in itself just speaks testament into how special this match is. 2024 also marks 30 years since the Springboks have played the All Blacks for the first time after South Africa's first democracy. And again, that then brings us into why this is a special milestone where we would like to announce that SuperSport and SABC have partnered to then bring and announce a unique once-off partnership to mark the 30 years of democracy in South Africa. SuperSport and SABC have made it possible for this match only for both ourselves and the SABC to broadcast the Castle Rugby Championship match between the Springboks and the All Blacks at the Emirates Airline Park. The partnership was made possible through collaboration between SA Rugby, and we'd need to actually call out and single out Mark Alexander, the president, Rian Oberosa, Saru CEO, as well as the minister, in terms of the energy that you brought. It's hard to believe you're only 2 months in, but you're keeping us all on our toes. But just the intensity that you've brought in terms of making sure that we put sports first, and we always make sure that we use sport to unify as a nation. So it's an amazing milestone, and we'd just like to thank the media for being here. We'd like to thank all the partners, but again, it's not possible without you in terms of how we tell our story. We are making a recommitment to the fan, recommitment to sport, and we cannot do that without our partners and the fans that love the sport as well. Thank you.
Now hand over to Nomsa Chabedi from SABC.
Thank you, Andy. Minister Mackenzie.
Sir.
Good evening. And good evening to the SARU President, Mr. Mark Alexander, to the CEO of SuperSport, Mr. Rendani Ramoba, to various, guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. As SABC, we don't take for granted the public mandate that we've been granted, and really our role in society and what it means to grant universal access to South Africans who tend to stay on the margins of society. We understand our role, and we understand that it's important for us to inspire and build our national pride and patriotism amongst our citizens. And this agreement here tonight is really an epitome of us as a public broadcaster working with our partners that I'm seated with here today, and ensuring that SABC as a public broadcaster is able to deliver on its mandate. And this is just one of the many programs that SABC is embarking on to ensure that we implement and advance the love of country, the love of patriotism. This is a momentous occasion for us because we are delighted to bring to our viewers one of the most special rugby matches that the Springboks are going to partake in. We know the rivalry between us and New Zealand, and we are very happy that millions of South Africans are going to get to enjoy it tomorrow when the match kicks off at 5 o'clock. The Springboks by themselves are really a symbol of unity and strength, and also resilience from a South African perspective. If you think about the fact that they've won 2 World Cups back to back, and I think the second time many of us couldn't believe it, and I was lucky enough to have been in that stadium to see it happen. And I think what's exciting is that to broadcast the match really takes away the feeling that rugby is for the privileged few. Rugby belongs to South Africans. Rugby is a national sport. And South Africans, all of us, we need to be granted the opportunity and the chance to support the boys in green and gold and to really, have our voices heard and give that unwavering commitment and support to them. So as SABC, we are very happy and we are very humbled, actually, that we've been brought to this table to share in this momentous occasion. And we are excited that our audiences are going to be part of this historic occasion. And this clash will really be broadcast live on SABC2, on our sports channel, on our streaming platforms. And I really want to take this opportunity to just give my heartfelt gratitude to the gentleman I'm sitting with. I'm the rose amongst the thorns. Really, the unwavering support that I felt from them is very critical. As we celebrate the 30 years of democracy of South Africa, we're still a very young democracy, and we must never take our democracy for granted as South Africans. And as SABC, we believe that we really are the broadcaster that drives support for democracy, because democracy is about an informed, an educated, and an entertained society, and that's what SABC does. And tomorrow we know that this proudest of moments, and I'm certain, by the way, that the Springboks will win the match tomorrow. We look forward to emerging victorious, not just on the pitch, but victorious as a nation as we scream our lungs out and support our boys. And really, it has been made possible by the collaboration between the broadcasters, by Saru, led by Mark Alexander, and Rian standing over there, and obviously our minister, who has not rested on his laurels and has taken every opportunity to ensure that unity is not just a word, but unity is being brought alive in South Africa today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nomsa. That's the perfect intro for the Minister.
As the Minister responsible for sport in the country, I'm thrilled that SuperSport and the South African Broadcasting Corporation have reached an agreement through which the public broadcaster will be broadcasting tomorrow's game, the test match between the Springboks and the All Blacks. And marking 30 years of democracy of our nation, this once-off landmark event will be a celebration of rugby's greatest rivalry. I would also like to publicly acknowledge the generosity of SuperSport in their willingness to come together with the public broadcaster to ensure that this once-in-a-lifetime historic game is available on SABC. This once-off gesture by SuperSport to South Africans is in line with their ongoing commitment. And I can testify to that, we have great companies, and when the story of great companies shall be written, both these companies, the SABC and SuperSport, that work will be incomplete if their names are not being mentioned. As a country, we've made remarkable strides. We were once a divided country, but we are now a unified society. And rugby can justly lay a claim, President, to being a major catalyst in bringing South Africans together. We are immensely pleased that all South Africans will be able to have the opportunity to witness this historic occasion. Our late President Nelson Mandela believed that sport possesses the unique power to unite people like nothing else, and it still remains a guiding truth as we continue to see our nation getting closer and closer and closer We are indeed stronger as a nation. But I must say this event is also a product of our very powerful government of national unity. You know, South Africans had a miracle in 1994. And few might disagree with me. But I want to say to you that the government of national unity is our second miracle. And for SuperSport, thank you for not being arrogant. Thank you for approaching these negotiations in a manner of nation building, in a manner of understanding. Nomsa, you are a star. I look at you and I've been in meetings with you and you're feisty, you fight for the people, but you are truly a product of how far black women has come in this country. And for that, I've got much respect. To Saru, when I became the minister, everybody told me lots of stories about Saru. Until I met Saru. Until I've seen what Saru is doing. And I want to say to Rian, the CEO, working alongside you has been one of the greatest pleasures. And to the man that never wants to take the credit, the man next to me, President Mark, what you have done, I remember where rugby was here around 2014. What you have done, how you have made rugby one of the biggest brands. The Springbok is one of the biggest brands. And thank you for bringing back Rassie. Rassie is a national treasure. Erik is lief vir hy baie. Rassie Erasmus is a hero. Rassie Erasmus gets it. And I want to say to other sports people, you know, we must learn from each other. And if you want to learn, other coaches, if you want to learn where we should be, we mustn't be jealous. Rassie Erasmus is our guy. And in conclusion, to my president, Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, thank you for the wisdom, the vision to appoint a sports minister like Gated Mackenzie. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. The floor is open to questions. If you could indicate through the lights.
We'll put lights up.
Any questions?
Any questions?
So you guys are covered.
Tune into SuperSport Grandstand, Rugby and Variety 3. Catch all the action from 3:15 for an exclusive documentary celebrating 30 years of South Africa's democracy. This will be followed by an exciting build-up featuring top rugby talent ahead of kickoff at Emirates Airline Park.